Released in 1960, Last Year at Marienbad is a classic surrealist picture directed by Alan Rene, and it's left me in a similar state as Ingmar Bergman's The Passion of Anna. Do I like Last Year at Marienbad? No. But is it, objectively speaking, a bad movie? Not really. In an opulent hotel, an unnamed man, Giorgio Albertazzi, tries to convince an unnamed woman, Delphine Seyrig, that they were lovers the year before. With its unconventional editing, which dismantles the normal continuity of time and location to produce a dreamlike journey, Last Year at Marienbad paved the way for future surrealist films. David Lynch's Mulholland Drive has an element of romantic possessiveness and teasing out an uncertain connection between two people, and some have even cited Last Year at Marienbad as an influence on the eerie, isolated feel of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Last Year at Marienbad is quite atmospheric. The hotel feels like a purgatory where the guests are trapped and numb like automatons, and as we hear and watch more of the man's story, and the editing becomes more fragmented, we get the impression that the past and present are bleeding together, or that he's creating the past with his obsession. At one point, the woman and man both die in the man's retelling of events, which allows me to make this joke again.
Snake, what have you done? You changed the future! You've created a time paradox!
But the strong atmosphere and weird editing are like the filling of an eclair, only so much fluff. Emotionally, Last Year at Marienbad is barren. For a man trying to convince a lady of their past relationship, there is a confounding lack of passion on display at any point. Most of the film consists of the man recounting moments in their past relationship. The story about the statue's identities is repeated a couple of times, often followed by a monologue about the hotel itself. The woman usually dismisses these claims as mad imaginings, but sometimes shows brief flickers of what may be recollection. But the problem with all this is that the man is only talking about objects, clothing, environments, and very flat conversations and actions. The film is essentially the man's running commentary, and there's scarcely any impression of love or how she makes him feel. The man is just attempting to prove a point. Last Year at Marienbad is an incredibly slow, dull film and is too dry and clinical to engage. As for whether the man and woman actually did have a past affair, I think the film makes it pretty clear that they didn't. The man is aggressive and frankly creepy as he tries to persuade the woman. Furthermore, the play they watch at the very beginning, which ends with a man finally winning over his woman, the other couple's irate talk about emotional distance, and the blonde woman's talk of coming here to be free, all appear to have implanted in the man his delusion of having a relationship with the woman and trying to leave together. Of course, the most obvious interpretation isn't the only one out there. I'll go over some of them now. First, the man, the woman, her apparent husband, and the other guests are all ghosts or spirits existing in purgatory. This interpretation is supported by the atmosphere, but there isn't really anything you can do with this interpretation. Some viewers regard the man and woman's interactions as symbolic of a psychoanalyst and his patient, but the film is too vague to be a substantive allegory of this. Could one of them not exist, and the events and other person could all be taking place inside the man or woman's head? This is quite possible, as the only other person who directly interacts with the couple is the woman's husband, who may also be imagined, and the casual observers could easily be looking on in confusion at the man or woman talking to him/herself. This would also explain how the man can narrate events he's never been to, as this split personality in the woman's mind would naturally be privy to her experiences. Some people have proposed that the events in the fuzzy present are all in the man's head as a way of assuaging his guilt for the death of the woman. As their affair may have indistinctly caused the husband to murder her, the man imagines her as alive once more to make it up to her. But the most interesting interpretation of Last Year at Marienbad argues that the film is an adaptation of the Orpheus and Eurydice story in Greek mythology. In the myth, Orpheus's lover Eurydice is killed by vipers, and when Orpheus goes into mourning, his songs of grief and longing are so moving that they even gain him sympathy from Hades and Persephone, the cold-hearted rulers of the underworld. Hades allows Eurydice to return to life, but on the condition that Orpheus lead her out of the underworld and never look back at her until they are back in the land of the living. Orpheus does so, journeying with his lover through the underworld and never turning his head, trusting that she's behind him, but at the last stretch of their journey, Orpheus unwittingly looks back, trapping Eurydice in the underworld forever. It's a tragic myth and an intriguing parallel drawn to Last Year at Marienbad, even if it is an admittedly loose fit. The man is Orpheus, attempting to convince his lover Eurydice to leave the underworld hotel, and the husband is Hades, who this film's Orpheus tries to overcome by beating him at Nim, which is analogous to Orpheus's songs. But then, the man never does beat the husband at his game, and the couple does eventually appear to leave the hotel, even if this is just a fantasy of the man or woman, so I told you it was a loose fit. You see, haters? I can make a complex analysis of a film I don't think is very good. Anyway, all of this speculation and ruminations on theories are just what they sound like, academic. For me, these interpretations, convincing or interesting as they are, don't enrich the film or serve a satisfying endpoint, as the base film is so unemotional, staid, repetitious, dull, and, yeah, boring. Last Year at Marienbad earns 2.5 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.